Hello and welcome back to the Jessica Pinelli podcast. Let's start with an angel card choosing. All right, in your mind, I want you to think of the number one or the number two. Think about it quickly. Don't overthink about it. Choose one or two. These, I don't know if I've used these on the podcast before. Anyway, these have like little sayings on them. They're beautiful. They were my mum's angel cards, one of her many angel cards. All right, one or two. Are you ready? I'm going to choose two cards. Okay, my number ones. This is your little affirmation saying, my life flows smoothly. I'm just showing YouTube. That is so beautiful. My life flows smoothly. So I guess intuitively, what I'm getting for you is you're kind of feeling like maybe it's like a little bit rough or a little bumpy at the moment, or you're kind of like confused of what's the next step. This is just a reminder your life does flow smoothly when you think about it and when you are creating the momentum for it to go in an aligned way. I truly believe, and I've believed this for the past maybe 2 years, like solidified is every time there's so much resistance or your life feels like clunky and it's like you're trying to move, then something is not in alignment. So maybe start to look at what you believe is in alignment and what's not. And then for my number twos, my decisions are clear. So whatever you were thinking, whatever you've been thinking about, whether you need a answer to a question or you're trying to make a big move and a big decision in your life, you know the answer. And something like I feel this is known by a lot of people, especially in this space, is like whatever your two questions are or whatever you want the two answers to be, if someone like said you have 5 seconds to answer right now, or I don't know, life or death or something like that, what is the immediate response? So my decisions are clear. I love those two. And our little angel card, I nearly forgot. I actually started recording and I called David because the way that this is set up, like I'm like locked in to this mini recording studio. But I called him like, okay, I need to do my angel cards because I really want to keep them consistently. And a lot of you have slid into my DMs over the past week for a couple of reasons. Number one, you love the angel cards. Number two, you're loving the episodes that I'm putting out. You're really resonating with me. Plus, you would like me to expand on a few things. And number three, my business series that I started, CEO Monday Shit, that I released the first episode last week. You guys loved it. And I'm so excited. The second episode will be up at some point this week. Well, it should be. I'm trying to think. I've got a podcast interview tomorrow for someone, but I don't think I'll release that because I'm doing two podcast episodes a week. So stay tuned for episode number two for CEO Monday Shit. It was just it was so good to record and film and get that out. And I know that it helped a lot of you. Had some of you share it on your story, which I love to see. And a lot of you just slid in my DMs and told me your big takeaways, which I love having conversations with you all. But this podcast episode, it's so funny. It was kind of well, it was on my list when I was in Europe. And then the synchronicity is one of my newest one-on-one clients in my Voxer containers. She messaged me yesterday. We were having a bit of back and forth on VMs, and she said, I would love to know more about money mindset when it comes to showing gratitude and showing appreciation, but also how can you want more? How can you desire more without that kind of sense of, okay, I don't have gratitude for what I already have. And this came up for me, like this question has come up for me before, but I think I really understood it for myself when I was in Europe because I was in such like traveling overall is just such a high vibrational thing for me. It's where I become very, very creative. It's where I also feel like I shed any old parts of me. And I'm like, okay, who do I truly want to become? Who do I truly want to embody? And this came up because I was loving the whole experience of our big trip, but it also expanded me in a way. And I think, like, remember that as we go on in this episode, the expansion part, it also expanded me in a way where I was like, I just want more. Now, it's not a greediness. This is the first thing that I will say on this. You really need to check in with yourself if it is a greediness thing. You know what greediness feels like. You know it. Like an analogy that I can offer here is when you are at like a Christmas dinner or lunch, or, maybe you're going to a family lunch, right? And you are eating, 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 and there's so much beautiful food. It smells good, and you finish your first plate, and then you go back and you're looking at all the mountains of food. And so you pile on a second plate, and you only make it like a quarter or halfway through that plate. And the saying goes, like, I was eating with my eyes. So the greediness, right, is like everything looks so good and I'm going to take it all, when really, like, your stomach cannot handle a second plate that's like piled and piled and piled of food. So the greediness part that I really want you to check in is just like, what is the feeling that's coming up when you are desiring more? And I think when we check in with ourselves and we get really honest about the greediness, it becomes a lot easier to start to define why we want to accumulate more abundance, more money, more wealth, more prosperity, whatever word resonates with you. So first thing, look at, is this a greediness thing? And I think like greediness doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good as an emotion. And I know all of you who listen to this podcast, who maybe follow me along on the Instagram or here watching YouTube, I know that you've been attracted to this type of content because you are very intuitive. You are intuitive. You can go within, you can listen to your gut, and you are starting to become very, very aware of what's happening in your nervous system. And so greediness is not a nice feeling. It's something that's not an aligned feeling. Now, let's like shift gears here and understand, what does it mean to practice gratitude and practice appreciation? The word appreciation and practicing that has been something that I have been focusing on probably the past year and a half now. When I went to Bali last year for 3 months, it just came, there's two things that really came from that trip. Number one, how can I have more appreciation for the things that I currently have? And I'm going to share with you a real time example from today, actually, for the things that I have. But also the second thing from that trip was, what's the point if it's not fun? And I really started to live my life at that. Like, I said this to a client around dating, it's fun until it's not. And that's such a simple saying. And I'm sure that you've heard it, but it's so true. When something doesn't become fun, once it doesn't feel good physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, like, it's not like, why are we putting more energy into it? So that's just a side note. But something that I really started to focus on is the appreciation for money, and being able to find gratitude in what I'm already receiving, what I am already experiencing. But the difference between wanting more from the greediness feeling and wanting more the expansion feeling is actually being really, really honest with you of what that looks like and why we want something. Now, something that I will share with you that happened to me today, that has come from that I really wanted to, I guess it's both sides. It's embodying the appreciation and the gratitude, but it's also a reflection of wanting more and expanding myself. I finally did my tax for, in Australia, our tax year is June 30th to July 1st, something like that. Probably got those dates wrong, but basically that's our financial year. I'm not sure about the States and over in the UK and all of you guys how your tax works, but that's just for Australia. And so we have to a certain amount of months that we have to get it in. And it's something that it's been on the to-do list. I went to Europe and now I'm like, message my accountant, which, by the way, if you are in Australia and you want such an amazing accountant I've been with him, I think 3-4 years since the start of my business. He's great. This by all means is not sponsored. Like, I pay for him and I pay good money because he's amazing. Slide into my DMs. Like, I can let you know, but he only does Australians. Anyway, what happened today was I got my tax bill, what I owe to the tax office, and being a business, a sole trader, it works a little bit differently. And my figures are basically 4 times the amount of my taxable income and what I owe to the tax office as a sole trader than it was this time last year. Now, what does the math consciousness do? They go, fuck, like, look how much tax I have to pay to the tax office. Look at this money. I can't believe I have to pay this, like, another bill. Me, the appreciation was, I am paying this amount because, and this is the expansion part, because I've been wanting to create more income and more abundance in my business. And it shows from the tax year before, I have 4 times the amount that I owe. And see how it's kind of like a lot of people can go into the low vibrational and go, well, I can't believe like I owe this much. For me, it shows the expansion of wanting more, having the appreciation, and then that coming, and it shows a reflection of wanting more. But everything along the way, there has been appreciation, there has been gratitude. And so this is just a signal to you, that's a little example, but this is just a signal to you, is you a lot of people think that creating more in their life, whether it is money, whether it's more materialistic items, love, whatever it may be, means that you're not grateful for right now. I think that the only way to expand and to welcome more is to practice gratitude and appreciation. Like, honestly, I know gratitude is such a big thing, but the appreciation piece has really, really changed. Like, even now speaking about it, and I reflect on the tax thing that I just told you, like a big difference for me was that point, and like changing to always having an appreciation for what I have and what I'm welcoming in. It's a lot different, and it feels a lot differently than thinking, okay, cool, I got that sale. Yeah, not good enough, or this isn't enough. Let's make another sale. Let's do that. Like, if that's an example in business or whatever it may be. So, or however you're getting your money. And see how there's such a different energy behind, I am so appreciative that I've made X amount of sales, or I have this many clients, and I'm doing what I can to expand myself to welcome more, versus, yeah, like it's okay, it's good, I'm making money, I've got these clients, I've got these deals or whatever, and it's just not enough. It's not enough for what I want. It's taking too slow. Like, yeah, the lack. So that's where you really need to catch yourself when it comes to welcoming in more, because if you were trying to expand yourself, and we'll go into that a little bit more in a second, but if you were trying to expand yourself to welcome in more abundance, wealth, prosperity, you really need to do it with the emotion of appreciation, with the emotion of gratitude, not the emotion of greediness. Now, the expansion part, I believe that when we are looking to expand ourselves, remember, we're specifically talking in terms of abundance and money. When we are looking to expand ourselves and bring in more, yes, right now in the day to day 3D physical reality, we have the appreciation, but we're also doing things to stretch what we currently know. There has been so many changes, both mindset, identity, and regulation changes that I have created and changed over the past year, specifically the past 12 months, that has been that the byproduct is more money. The byproduct is more abundance. Remember, just a side note, abundance is many, many different things. If you have, I experienced abundance today. I went to get a coffee out of matcha, and the friend that I went to coffee with, she got a chai. She paid for me. My coffee was $7. My matcha was $7. My iced matcha, that's abundance. This is where a lot of people fall short, because I say, well, I get the money in my bank account from my job or my clients, and I say, thank you so much, I'm so grateful. And there's two things to that. And then a second after, they're thinking, fuck, I'm so stressed how I'm going to pay this bill, or fuck this, or that's not enough money, or I hate my job. Or the second thing is not actually giving the acknowledgement to other forms of abundance, right? I even had a gifted treatment, body treatment, wellness treatment as well today. That is a form of abundance, whatever that is equal to. And that has been a game changer for me, because I never really used to think like, oh, that coffee, that $5 coffee the friend's getting, like I'm grateful or I'm appreciative, or, I get bought this or I get gifted this for free. For me, it was, I've done like a lot of different influencer gifting things over the past few years. And at the start, yes, of course, I was so grateful, you're getting gifted these things, but it didn't have the appreciation piece where I was like, this is abundance. I'm getting gifted. I worked with an activewear, a well known Australian activewear company for 5 years. And every single month, I was getting gifted close to anywhere between $300 to $600 worth of active wear per month. This is nearly 5 years. And there was a period of time where I was grateful, but I just didn't realize like I am basically getting $500. Let's just say average, right? $500 every single month. A lot of people just think money and abundance and the wealth is cash in hand. Don't just focus on those things or the number in their bank account. What has really changed for me and allowed me to expand more and be in an energy that's like, I am so grateful and appreciative for what I currently have, but I'm so ready for more, is being able to recognize that there are so many forms of abundance. And most people, it's crazy, most people don't recognize. I have this conversation so much on my group calls where I'm like, recognize this coffee, or, someone, your dad paid for $40 fuel or whatever it may be. That is you welcoming in more again. And I say this because it's so important. This is types of things that I teach and tell my clients is it's not just cash in your hand, it's not just money in your bank account, it's so many forms of abundance. So from there, welcoming more, you also need to do the things that expand you to welcome in that new money. The way that I was living 2 years ago, it wasn't bad or anything. This is not what I'm trying to say, but the my standards around how I showed up for myself, the lifestyle was not in the expansion of who I currently am. Now, again, this is not saying, and I will like underline, bold, and italics this, do not put yourself in debt to try live this elevated lifestyle, whatever that looks like to you, just so you can like step into an identity of someone who's rich, or an identity of someone who has more. No, you only do it in your means and you stretch a little bit more, whatever is uncomfortable. So, for example, if you are running a business, and this is an example that was actually made, right? I didn't at all, never used to show up like sloppy or anything on calls. I have so much pride in my calls, but I'd be like, when I'm making X amount of dollars, I'm gonna wear like really nice clothes and do my makeup and be have like a super elevated look for my calls. If they're not at 5 a.m. in the morning, which I used to do, 5 a.m. calls. And then I was like, why am I waiting to this certain point? Now, once I stepped into that, I start to elevate my consciousness. I start to elevate my energy of how I'm presenting myself and how I do want to be when it comes to my next income level, or the amount of clients I have for a business, right? Or, if it's a promotion, it's the same thing. It's like, I am going to start wearing, I don't know, blazer sets when I get promoted. It's like, why don't we step into that now? Why don't we step into the role of who I want to be? So, this is the expansion piece. See how if you're putting the appreciation and the gratitude and you're pairing it with whatever feels good and expanding in you, you can bring in more. The people who are doing it wrong, wrong as in like quotation marks, wrong in the sense of if you want to welcome in more, is the people who are greedy, have the greedy vibration, or the people that don't have the gratitude for what they have now. It's like always chasing the next thing. And, that is something that I had to learn as well. Is like, I didn't even realize, I think I've shared this on the podcast before, the first 5-figure month that I made, I didn't even really realize because I was just chasing, 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 chasing. I was in Sydney and I made it. I didn't realize until like 3 weeks after. And I know to some of you that may be something that's like crazy to hear, because it's like you hit like you made 5 figures and you didn't even realize. It's not that. It was just kind of like keep going, sale, 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 whatever it may be, the hustle, hustle, hustle mentality. So again, that's the expansion. I was expanding myself to create that as normal, which I'll touch on more about now. And so it's finding these things that are allowing you to be able to do that in your every, like right now. Sit down and ask yourself, if I was earning, okay, let's say you're making from your business $5,000 a month. Who would you be and act as? This is self concept, this is identity work, but who would you be if you were making $50,000 a month? I am sure right now there are things that spring to mind. And when I say elevated, it doesn't mean just because you're making money you have to dress nice all the time. And no, but it's like, what are the standards you are setting for yourself? I have this discussion with my partner often. Like, we live in this beautiful apartment in an amazing city suburb in Brisbane and we have a really, really great lifestyle. These are things that I used to dream about. But also before this, how was I acting like I'm ready for that type of lifestyle? Like right now, yes, I'm in it, I'm working for it, I'm working there, but I'm also like expanding myself to get there. And that's where people go wrong is they just say, cool, I hit that goal. I just want the other one. This isn't good enough, or I need more, or it's just not enough for me. And that was me. It was like goalpost after goalpost. Stop looking at the short-term goalposts, look at the long-term goalposts. Well, this is a conversation I had with my one-on-one client yesterday, is like focus on the long-term goalpost, but what's going to bring that there? Now, just going back on what I said about the Sydney, right, and making figures, what I do want to touch on that is you have to also normalize the amounts of money that you want to bring in and not put it on a pedestal. Something that I was talking to my girlfriends about was I used to think, again, I preface this by saying, remember, this is the expansion of the money mindset. This is my experience, things I want to share with you all to help you kind of like get to a level where you feel like you're making moves. But I used to think, fresh out of high school, if I was going to get a 9 to 5 job, even when I was like PTing, I used to believe that $100,000 salary a year was an insane amount. I used to think that's the goal. That's the goal. That's what I'm working towards. That's a great amount. Now I think $100,000 a month is a great amount. And my expansion of that. And again, I'm not sitting here being like, okay, I'm making X amount per month. Like it's so shit because it's not $100,000. No, of course not. I have appreciation for what I'm able to bring in. But again, day to day, how am I expanding myself? And you need to normalize these things. My One of my coaches, he makes a hundred to $150,000 a month. And he's done so for the past couple of years. And even you right now may be hearing that and you may be thinking that is an insane amount of money. Like I maybe even right now, some of you are listening and you don't believe it, or you want to be what's the word? Cynical? Yeah, cynical about it. And that's absolutely fine. But I didn't get to have that understanding of thinking, no, $100,000 a year is pennies to $100,000 a month. Like that's amazing. There are people who are making multi six figures every single month. So that is absolutely normal for them. I remember, just speaking of expansion, I remember seeing a TikTok and it was something the line of, if you've seen it, like don't quote me, it was something the line of a man was getting interviewed and he was a multimillionaire. And the question to this multimillionaire was, what amount would it take for you to think twice about using your card, like tapping your card or using your card? And the guy thinks for a moment, and I think he said something like $200,000. So imagine, and then the conversation continued, but it was basically like, so if you paid for a $50,000 dinner, you wouldn't even bat an eyelid, like it wouldn't make a dent or anything. And he goes, no, if the purchase is 200,000 or above, then yeah, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to weigh up my options. I'm going to think of, is this what I want? What is this for? What's the value of it? And so again, it's exposing yourself to expand yourself. And there is bigger leaps than others. There's definitely, even when I first heard that, I was like, that's crazy. And then I neutralized myself because I was like, I have obviously put that on the pedestal. So it's always finding that income that you are questioning, but you want to this is the thing. I don't want to state this by like you have to be making millions of dollars or multi six figures a month to, have good money or whatever. It's sitting with an amount that you really truly desire and that is going to fulfill you in the way you believe. Money doesn't bring happiness, it doesn't bring fulfillment, but it does bring a fuckload of opportunities. And that's what I always like to say to myself in the moments where maybe I'm struggling or I'm in a lack mindset and I am struggling to get that the appreciation and the gratitude. I just think, what opportunities and am I wanting to bring in with my next income level? And that's a question that I ask often for me, is like, this is bringing me opportunities. What are the opportunities that I am looking for? So overall with this, the appreciation, the gratitude part is absolutely key. Really check in with yourself if it's coming from greed. Your why, I don't think I touched enough on this, but your why, like what, if you are sitting here and you're listening to this and you're like, I want to make $100,000 a month. Okay, why? Have you actually, something I go through with one of my coaches is COIL, cost of ideal living. Have you gone through what your cost of ideal living is? The apartment that you desire, the car, the extras, the education, all the little bits and pieces of living. Because a lot of people will give a number. I did this when I first did it, and I was like, "Yeah, I need X amount per month or per week." And then I did it, and it was like way less, right? And that was me like really expanding myself. And it's funny because when I get to that that coil, that lifestyle, that ideal lifestyle that I'm working towards, it's going to be interesting to see how I elevate myself from there. But what is your why behind it? What is it you actually want this money for? What is it you want to spend the money for? What is the difference that you want to make in your own life and maybe your family's lives and your loved one lives? And I think when we have an understanding of the why, because we can keep wanting more and more and more money, but you need to have a reasoning behind it. And money comes when the feelings and our emotions are aligned. You can't be saying, I am so grateful for my pay, and then 1 second later, you're saying, fuck the economy, fuck the government for the prices. Oh my God, how expensive is this water bill? How expensive is blah, 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 blah. You guys know, if you've been listening for a hot minute, you know I don't use the word expensive. I use the word lux, like to the point that everyone knows it. No one questioned me. At the start, I was kind of like, lux, huh? And now everyone knows. Like, I do not use the word expensive. It's to the point now where that's so normalized for me that I will hear people that I know personally who make multi-millions and they all still use the phrase expensive. Now, is it the be all or end all? Absolutely not. But change your language and how you want to see things and what you want to bring forth. But really connect to your why. Why do you want X amount of money? Why do you want to make more money? And having an answer like, I just want more money because I want to pay my bills, or, something superficial, like, because I want to buy a nice bag. Get really, really specific on what you are actually desiring for that money. And I think that when we understand our why, that's where we can work in the expansion thing. For me, it's like, why do I want this next level apartment? Why do I want this type of lifestyle? Why do I want this? And then if it's truly aligned with me and it's something that I've created on my own, because I think it's very, very normal to see things on social media or to hear things from friends, family, whoever it may be, and be like, yeah, that's cool. I'm going to just like, that's my new vision. That's what I want, but not really be connected. I think that's quite normal to do. So just watch yourself when you're doing that, and instead make sure you're just understanding yourself, getting curious about yourself. And then, of course, the expansion piece. Appreciate what you have, but think expansion is just becoming a better person, a better version of yourself. Again, when I say hesitate a little bit, because I don't mean better person for, the world or anyone else. I mean better person for yourself. But expansion is just that you should always be wanting to bettering yourself. You should always be wanting to just elevate who you are in whatever capacity that is, and waking up and being really driven. Again, business, career, relationships, day-to-day, like whatever it is, like find that spark in you. And when you connect to the things that really expand you and that feel expansive, that's when we start to see more. That's when we start to see more abundance and start to see more joy, more fulfillment. And just a reminder, because it just popped in my head, but remember the abundance factor. You may say, I want to, and this has happened to me before. I've been like, the start of my business, I want like to make my first 10K. And then I've just gone short of it, but I've received like $2,000 worth of free PR from companies, or I've received like a paid for dinner. These things, this is what I used to miss before, and I'd be like, oh my fuck, like, I made 8K and my goal was 10K, whatever it was. And at the start of my business, that's how I used to be, and there was a bit of like ungratefulness there. But then what I realized is, oh, actually, I got all this free stuff. I got a free dinner. My dad paid for my fuel. I got this, blah 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 blah. I have actually surpassed the 10K as an example. So again, start adding up those things, start saying thank you for the, girl math. Hashtag girl math is having the appreciation for every little single form of abundance. That's the type of girl math that I want you to start to tap into whilst at the same time expanding yourself. So I'm going to leave you all here, which by the way, I will leave it in the show notes below. I just remembered, but next week at time of this recording, I'm hosting a free 5-day training series over on YouTube, here on YouTube for my YouTube watchers right now. It is called Unbecoming. It's about unlocking your potential, rewriting your reality. We are going to go dive deep into self-concept work, identity work, subconscious reprogramming, nervous system regulation, capacity expansion, being able to hold more wealth, all of the juicy goodness. I'm going to either go live on YouTube and do it like that because I feel like I operate really good live, or I'm going to pre-record. I'm just going to see how I'm feeling. There's 5 days of it. Subscribe to my YouTube so you don't miss it. I'm going to be really, really honest. I actually don't know if I'm going to be keeping this up on YouTube. I decided to host it on here because I did a poll on my story. It was the overwhelming winning result, which amazing. I'm staying really consistent with YouTube, but I don't know whether I'm going to be keeping it up. But make sure you do sign up with the link below. And if you loved what I've spoken about today, definitely come to those trainings, watch those trainings. They'll be up for at least 2 weeks, just a bit of lag time so everyone can watch them. But I appreciate you all. As always, I would love it if you can, number one, subscribe to the channel if you're watching here on YouTube. Number two, if you could leave a 5-star review, it means so much to the podcast and, gaining traction and getting my name out there. But I would love to see it tagged in your story, any takeaways. And if you just want to slide in and share with me your takeaways or things you want me to talk about on the podcast, I love to know it. So definitely slide in at Jess Pinelli. But I appreciate you all, and I will speak to you in the next episode. Bye.